Ahead of this Saturday's Extreme Rules Premium Live event, last night's edition of Monday Night Raw gives us the latest clue and teaser about the identity of the now infamous White Rabbit. We've got all of the clues, all of the teasers, all of the Easter eggs, breaking it all down in this White Rabbit teaser. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of WWE. And of course, the biggest and the only story we're going to talk about today is the aforementioned White Rabbit. Yes, everyone was going into last night's edition of Monday Night Raw knowing that Extreme Rules is on the horizon this coming Saturday. And would we get another teaser? Would we get another indicator as to the identity of the White Rabbit? And once again, would it point to the return of Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, to WWE? There is so much to get into this one. This might be the most in-depth White Rabbit video I've done because there are so many hints, so many clues. The level of detail here is absolutely incredible. So let's get straight in to this week's latest White Rabbit teaser. Now, as always, it came up starting with a QR code. You can see the QR code on the screen right there. Now this time, the QR code flashed upon the screen after a period of grey haze over the screen as Candice LeRae walked up to Bianca Belair, Asuka, and Alexa Bliss. Now the QR code was actually accompanied by the sound of the White Rabbit in the previous games and teasers to, as a reminder, shall we say, for fans to tune in. Now, even before we get into where the QR code takes you, there's already possibly a clue and a teaser involving just the grey haze that appeared over the screen first. Some are saying, and we'll get it on the screen right now, some are saying that above Alexa Bliss, who was in the shot, you can see it on the screen right there, who was in the shot at the time, some are saying that above her is what appears to be somewhat of a Fiend-like face. Now, I could be wrong there, or people could be wrong there. It was actually, I think it's Era of Bliss, you can see it on the screen, that pointed this out. Shout out to them on Twitter. The thing is with faces, and the thing is with seeing things that maybe aren't there is a phenomenon called pareidolia, where essentially your brain is wired in a way whereby its primary focus, your eyes and your brain, is to recognize other humans' faces. It's what we're wired to do. It's an evolutionary concept. So sometimes when we see a pattern that we can't actually figure out, or we see a pattern or we see an image that we can't quite figure out, our brain tries to find patterns sometimes where there aren't any, or they try to make out faces where there aren't any. It's the same concept as when you look up into the sky and you can see a cloud and you say, that cloud looks like this, or that cloud looks like that. Or sometimes when you've burnt a bit of toast and you go, wait a minute, is that, the royal family's face going on in the toast? It might be like that. Of course, as with everything in this White Rabbit mystery, no detail can be overlooked. So don't rule out that that is completely intentional. I'm not so sure if I completely subscribe to that one, but some people are saying that's a Fiend face. And as you'll see as we go through this, there is a lot of Alexa Bliss, Fiend, and Bray Wyatt references. So it's certainly possible that the Fiend could be watching over Alexa Bliss ahead of his return, possibly this coming Saturday at Extreme Rules. So the QR code takes you to this webpage. You can see it on the screen. And it features a piece of classic art. It features a gap in between the classic art. And also it features this magic eye code as well. And there is so much to break down there. What might just appear to be a random web page, I see details. And a lot of people online saw details as well. Let's start off. Before we even get into the painting, before we get into the cipher, the hidden cipher, before we get into the magic eye code, let's talk about the URL link. You can see it at the top, www.com/ followed by a series of zeros, ones, 00, underscore, what would most people recognize as binary code. Now, binary code is a series of zeros and ones that can actually tell out a code. It was used during several wars. And if you look at that URL link and you take the zeros and ones and put it into a binary code reader, it actually leads to something quite interesting. The title of the page reads a binary that actually reads out none other than Gacy, i.e., the NXT superstar Joe Gacy. Now, some people are saying, does this mean something? Is this a similar vein to past potential red herrings? We've seen red herrings in the past where it's pointed to the likes of maybe Karrion Kross with the hourglass, or it's pointed to Aleister Black with the HTML code that featured the first two lines of his entrance theme. Is this a similar situation where WWE and Bray Wyatt and others are trying to point us in a different direction, so we're just not totally sure if it indeed is Bray Wyatt? Certainly interesting that the URL code actually points to an NXT superstar that does have a gimmick that's somewhat supernatural, somewhat strange, somewhat interesting. Now, Joe Gacy has actually responded to the White Rabbit's code, hinting that he could indeed be the White Rabbit. This is what he tweeted, quote, "We take everything in sight, all through the night, leaving scars and crashing cars." Now, if that sounds odd to you, it should. You can also see actually in his profile picture, he's got his eyes crossed out, which is the same way that Bray Wyatt actually had the eyes of his victims crossed out when he hung them in his Firefly Funhouse. If you recall, they were actually hanging pictures of the likes of Kane, of Kurt Angle, of Mick Foley, all after he had actually attacked them. Finn Balor as well. So maybe Joe Gacy is referencing that. But the biggest reference there is the words he is using, and they're actually lyrics to a song. Now, the song title is actually wild, and it actually does link back to none other than Bray Wyatt. The artist or the band, the group that sings this song is called Cold Chamber, but the name of the song is none other than Fiend. Yes, it's a song by Cold Chamber. It's called Fiend. And those lyrics are, "We take everything in sight, all through the night, leaving scars and crashing cars." Now, I would believe that this is just Joe Gacy going, "Oh, my name's been brought up. I'm going to try and buy into this. I'm going to try and tease this." It's very on the nose, his tease. It doesn't take a genius just to Google those lyrics that he's posted. And certainly this would buy in, and this would tie in to all of this, the discussion, certainly what's been reported. I believe Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful actually reported this, that whilst no one definitively knows backstage in terms of talent who the White Rabbit is, everyone has their suspicions and their beliefs, and the belief is amongst talent and amongst those not in the know backstage in WWE right now is that this is all pointing towards the return of Bray Wyatt, the return of the Fiend, and it would appear that Joe Gacy thinks the same. Now, there have been other theories that it's not just going to be Bray Wyatt that returns or the Fiend that returns. He's going to be bringing with him a faction or a stable of sorts. And what we've seen recently is all hints to the characters in the Firefly Funhouse, when it's Huskus the Pig, whether it's obviously Rambling Rabbit, whether it's, Mercy the Buzzard, and possibly all of these characters could come to life. I've seen people say that there could be Dexter Lumis involved, Karrion Kross involved, the Fiend Bray Wyatt involved. There's certainly a possibility, and maybe Joe Gacy could be involved in a faction if indeed that's the direction that they're going to go down. But let's go back to the webpage that you can see right there. So let's get into the picture first. Let's get into the painting first. Let's get into this painting and what it actually all could mean. Now, the painting is, I suppose, the biggest clue out of all of this. It features a classic piece of art, which is Samson and Delilah, and there has been a bit of an explanation as to the story of the Samson painting. Shout out to Ryan Satin on Twitter, who shared the story of the Samson painting, saying, quote, "Chosen by God, Samson was blessed with superhuman strength that made him invincible as long as the hair on his head remained unshorn. When he told this secret to his Philistine wife Delilah, he was captured, blinded, and his hair was cut. He regained his strength as soon as his hair grew back, and he was able to destroy the Philistine temple, killing 3,000 Philistines." So essentially, it's a story of betrayal. And as you can see there, Delilah is holding Samson's hair, and as I mentioned, it's a story of betrayal. And Bray Wyatt himself has actually referenced a similar biblical scene, or if anything, actually the same biblical scene. Wyndham Rotunda himself, back in April 2021, tweeted out the following. You can see it right there. It's another version of Samson and Delilah as Delilah's about to cut his hair. And he posted this, you can see at the bottom there, on April 12, 2021, which was after he was betrayed by none other than Alexa Bliss at WrestleMania 37. Of course, it was Bray Wyatt's final match in WWE. It was the last time we saw The Fiend on WWE television, not Bray Wyatt, because we did see him the following night in an episode of the Firefly Funhouse, which would go on to be Bray Wyatt's final WWE appearance. But again, there's a lot of tiebacks to Alexa Bliss, which is why I'm saying about earlier on where you could see a possible Fiend face hanging over Alexa Bliss. Certainly this hint is talking about a betrayal by a female partner, which of course was exactly what happened to him at WrestleMania 37. Everyone expected Bray Wyatt to win that match, or the Fiend to win that match against Randy Orton, and even that was his first match in nearly 4 months after being set ablaze by Randy Orton the prior December in the Firefly Inferno match at TLC, and the closing moments of that match saw Alexa Bliss sit on top of this giant box, and she had this sort of black sort of fluid coming down her face, distracting Bray Wyatt, allowing Randy Orton to hit an RKO, and seemingly Alexa Bliss had betrayed the Fiend. And again, this painting, Samson and Delilah, also implies or discusses the story of betrayal, which certainly does match Alexa Bliss and the Fiend. Again, pointing back to the Fiend's return to WWE. But the clues don't stop there. Going back to the webpage that you can see right there, on the painting of Samson and Delilah, there are actually coordinates. Now, you can only see half of them in one part, 751720W, which implies that's the west coordinates. So you would say, okay, that's half of the puzzle. Where is the other half? Well, the other half is actually in the HTML code, the source code of this image, and you can see it highlighted, 39901-N, which of course is the north coordinates. And where do these coordinates point to? Well, these coordinates point to where you would actually expect these coordinates to point to, and it's where we're all heading towards, which of course is this coming Saturday. It's this coming Saturday in Philadelphia, because these coordinates point to the Wells Fargo Center. You can see them right there, the latitude, the longitude, the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Of course, the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania is the host and the location of this coming Saturday's premium live event, Extreme Rules. So the indication once again is that this coming Saturday at Extreme Rules in Philadelphia in the Wells Fargo Center, we will see the revelation, or we will see the reveal of who the White Rabbit is, and possibly the return of Bray Wyatt. Now, it must be stated, previous reports by the likes of Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select and others did report recently that the original plan was, and I'm assuming it still is the plan, but the original plan was for the White Rabbit mystery to indeed be revealed this coming Saturday at Extreme Rules. And all indications now with these coordinates point to the revelation happening Saturday at Extreme Rules. Now, that's not to say that we won't have a clue on Friday Night SmackDown. Most likely we probably are going to get a clue Friday night on SmackDown as well, but this is the first tease pointing to Extreme Rules being the location that we finally find out who the White Rabbit is. Going back to the webpage though, underneath the painting of Samson and Delilah, you see this black space. Now, when you hover your cursor or your mouse or whatever over the black space, you actually see a cipher. You can see the cipher now on the screen. You see these patterns and these I don't know what to call them, images, patterns, but they lead to a code, and you can see the actual key to the cipher there as well. Now, this cipher is very interesting too, because it really does give an interesting explanation, and it kind of ties back to a previous other clue that the White Rabbit has done as well. So let's have a look at this, because the cipher code actually translates to this. And shout out to TheLeo2K on social media, on Twitter, who translated the cipher, saying, quote, "The new teaser translates, before me things created were none, save things eternal, and eternal I endure. Full quote being, before me things created were none, save things eternal, and eternal I endure. All hope abandon ye who enter here." Now, if that sounds familiar, it should sound familiar, absolutely, because this phrase, this quote, has actually been used before in the previous White Rabbit teaser the past week on SmackDown with the Three Little Pigs Disney animation teased video. And it actually features this quote here from Dante Allegri, who says, quote, "I am the way into the city of woe. I am the way into eternal pain. I am the way to go among the lost. Justice caused my high architect to move. Divine omnipotence created me, the highest wisdom and the primal love. Before me there were no created things, but those that last forever, as do I. Abandon all hope who enter here." So again, it's talking about this code. It's talking about the abandon all hope he who enter here. And before me me think there were no created things, but those that last forever, as do I. If that last bit there at the bottom, abandon all hope who enter here, if that sounds familiar, it should also sound familiar, because in the Firefly Funhouse, as the entrance door to the Funhouse itself, it had this sign on it: abandon all hope ye who exit here. So it's just slightly tweaked. You know, if you're leaving the Funhouse, it's an exit as opposed to entering, but it is the same, and it's a phrase, most importantly, that Bray Wyatt has used in the past, that the Bray Wyatt character has used in the past, and once again, it points to another clue about none other than Bray Wyatt, which again points to this coming Saturday, the return of the Fiend, or possibly Bray Wyatt, at Extreme Rules in Philadelphia. Now, going back to the webpage as well, underneath that cipher, there is this magic eye code. We'll get a closer look at this magic eye code here. Now, in the initial QR code page, there's also this magic eye code. Now, actually, it reads MTA4MJL. Now, if you Google that, MTA4MJL, you get none other, and this is crazy, white rabbit milk. Yes, this is what happens when you Google the code in the Samson photo. You get white rabbit milk, which again is just another kind of push. It's another kind of teaser to this white rabbit stuff. It's just these small details that is just absolutely incredible. It really is fantastic. Now, also going back to this magic eye code, if you put the magic eye code into a base 64 decoder, which is like binary to text encoding, which is what this is, instead of the binary code, which we could see in the URL code earlier on that pointed to Joe Gacy, if you put this image in a base 64 decoder, which is trying to find codes in images, it translates to 10/8/22. Of course, 10/8/22 is the date of this coming Saturday, which is Extreme Rules in the Wells Fargo Center, Saturday, October 8th, 2022. Once again, pointing to the reveal of the White Rabbit coming this coming Saturday at Extreme Rules in Philadelphia. But that wasn't the only clue that we got. So that was the QR code. That was one hint. But what we're starting to see right now, of course, is multiple. We're starting to see multiple teases throughout the shows. We're not just seeing one. We're also seeing other teases. And we did see another tease actually in the crowd. And this might be the most blatant tease and the most blatant hint as to who is returning to WWE that we've had so far at all. All of these clues so far have been cryptic and been kind of, you have to dive quite deep into them. You have to figure them out. This one, it's not too difficult. You can see it in the crowd right there. This is pretty fantastic. During a match between Angelo Dawkins and Solo Sikoa, another surprise clue appeared. A fan sign reading Wyatt Rabat, or WYYT is in the now signature spooky font with the White Rabbit logos, appeared walking through the shot. Similar to how we've seen in the past, people walking through shots with QR code. We saw White Rabbit, or Wheat Rabat, walking through the shot. Now, of course, again, it's not too difficult to figure out what this is referencing. It's one referencing the White Rabbit, but if you unscramble these letters, you do get Bray Wyatt. So the clues keep coming, but the reveal seems to be porting all in one direction. Also, according to fans on Twitter, there was someone dressed as the Fiend in the crowd. However, it's unclear if that's intentional on WWE's part or if that's just somebody dressing up. But as I mentioned, to me, this White Rabbit sign is the most obvious tease that it's Bray Wyatt. It's not difficult. It's not hard. That one isn't hard to figure out that it's Bray Wyatt. And finally, of course, as we've seen every single week now during Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown tapings, as well as live events, the song White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane was played during the commercial break. It led to fans holding up their phones, the Fireflies waking back up, and also ended with that red light that has also been associated with the Fiend, and last night was no different with the song playing inside the arena. So there you go, guys. That's kind of the latest details. I think I found most of them from last night's White Rabbit teaser. As I mentioned, I think that's the most clues we've ever gone through in a video. All of these White Rabbit clues and teasers are so in-depth and have so many teasers and have so many levels of detail, and it's working. Clearly, it's working. We've already heard that the White Rabbit merchandise sales are absolutely ginormous for WWE. Bray Wyatt's always been a huge merchandise mover for the company, but it would appear now all signs are pointing in one direction. Yes, we have a few little red herrings, such as Joe Gacy, such as Karrion Kross, such as Aleister Black, but the majority of these clues point to Bray Wyatt. If it's not images he's used in the past, references he said in the past, promos he's done in the past, pointing to towns like Wyndham, or even a sign that basically reads Bray Wyatt, they're all pointing in one direction, and that is that Bray Wyatt will be the person, or the Fiend being the person to return this coming Saturday at Extreme Rules. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Did I miss any clues? What are your thoughts or interpretations on some of the clues? Let me know what you think or how you're feeling about it in the comment section below. Be sure to smash a like on the like button as well. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.